We're here at Carleton University for the EU Strategic Partnerships Workshop, and it's my pleasure to be with Nicola Casarini. He's a Senior Fellow for Asia at the Institute for International Affairs in Rome and a Global Fellow at the Wilson Center. Thanks very much for being with us today.
Thank you very much for inviting me today.
Could you explain for us why the EU has designated China as a strategic partner?
But China was designated by the European Union as strategic partner because of the growing importance of China. We have a buoyant economic relationship. China is today the second most important trading partner of the European Union, might become the number one in the coming years. But also we also have like political considerations. A growing China was felt to be, the European Union needed, that was the feeling, to engage with the rise in China. And also we have the promotion of a long series of interest in China. The Chinese market has been traditionally very attractive for European business for a number of reasons, which are not only economic reasons. The European Union, back in 2003, designated China as a strategic partner.
In your presentation, you spoke about the three results of the strategic partnership for the EU: economic trade aspect, the defense and security, and the monetary promotion during the Eurozone crisis. Can you elaborate a little bit on what each of these elements means for the relationship?
Sure. The economic and trade dimension, I already mentioned before, it's the backbone of the relationship. It was important at the time of the establishment of the strategic partnership. It remains important today. However, besides the economic and trade dimension, we also have the promotion of what I call the space and defense interest in China by the European Union and its member states. This has taken the form, for instance, when it comes to space, on the joint development of Galileo, but not only, also space technology, space exploration. When it comes to the defense-related issues, we have here the issue of arms sales to China. Currently, China's defense procurement budget is captured around 7-8% by European defense companies. Now, those are not, of course, things the Europeans like to mention when it comes to the strategic partnership with China, because the European Union prefers to see itself as a normative soft power, which is. But at the same time, in the case of China, there has also been this attempt to promote high-tech cooperation, space cooperation, and also defense-related issues. And the third element, which is very important, has become very important, especially in the last years, is the monetary dimension. Central to the strategic partnership nowadays, this realization on both sides of the importance of the Eurozone and the common currency. During the Euro crisis, China intervened massively in international financial markets in order to sustain the Eurozone and buy Eurozone assets. This has now been transformed into growing monetary connections at all levels between the European member states and China, together with growing investments on both in two ways, not only European investments in China, but also Chinese investments in Europe. This makes the third leg, or the third strategic leg of the partnership. So the first one is the recognition of China's growing importance. At that time, in 2003, the two sides used the words like multipolarity and multilateralism to define the strategic partnership. The second leg is the high-tech space and defense element, and the third is the monetary financial dimension.
Mm-hmm. What has been the role of more of the softer issue, the human rights issues, value-based issues in this dialogue and partnership? How has this played out between the two?
Well, that's a very important question when it comes to China. Now, it is interesting to observe that the issue of values has never become an impediment for the strategic partnership to develop. Now, there has been a kind of like a division of labor between the EU level, Brussels, and the member states. The human rights issues and democracy, rule of law, are part of the yearly EU-China political dialogue, which is done at the EU level between Brussels and Beijing. This has allowed member states to depoliticize relations with China. In fact, what we usually have is head of state or government in Europe, when they meet the Chinese counterpart, they usually refrain from raising contentious issues. They may sometimes do it, but in a very light way, in order not to create any problem to eventual contracts or commercial relations. Whereas at the EU level is used in order to maintain some critical pressure, some criticism on China. And I think this has been a kind of a good working method by which the European Union has been able to advance relations across the board with China by maintaining some critical attitude vis-à-vis human rights violations, the lack of democracy or rule of law in China, at the same time allowing member states to pursue their economic interests without jeopardizing eventual contracts had their leaders raised sensitive issues with the Chinese leaders, for instance. So that has been a very good method so far.
You spoke earlier about the way China has used its relations with the EU to drive a wedge between the US and EU. Can you speak on this point?
This has been a traditional objective for China's foreign policy. China is working towards the creation of a multipolar world order. In this multipolar world order, the European Union has an important role to play. Now, because of that, all the opportunities China has in order to support European integration and the more autonomous European Union in world affairs are seen as good and an opportunity for China. So we have witnessed in the last 2 decades this kind of like a strategy from China. On the one hand, China plays member states against each other. Chinese have become very skilled at that, at trying to play one member state against the other in order to reap both economic and political benefits from that. At the same time, China has also and quite consistently supported European integration, again, for different reasons. Because by supporting European integration, China could reap economic and political benefits, such as by supporting the development of Galileo. China is now jointly developing the satellite system with Europeans, etc. But by supporting these initiatives, European integration, China is also working towards the creation of a multipolar world order. So we have this seemingly contradictory, but it's not contradictory for the Chinese mind, so strategy towards the European Union and its member states. On the one hand, China trying to divide the member states. At the same time, concurrent with that, China has become one of the most consistent supporters of European integration. And I think this sometimes creates some kind of like confusion, especially from outside actors like the United States, that because they don't follow day-to-day EU-China relations, they sometimes lose the bigger picture and they don't capture the full extent of the relationship. They usually think China is trying to divide the member states, which is true. But when China helps Europe on key initiatives, could be the development of a satellite navigation system, could be the support of the common currency, I think at that point we do have the Americans and the other actors they don't fully understand the richness and the depth of EU-China relations. So, yes, China will always try to divide a wedge, but also the Europeans sometimes play the China card to send a message to Washington, again, because China sometimes help the Europeans to advance on some issues that at times are resisted or opposed by Washington.
Mm-hmm. Finally, I want to ask, what are you looking for coming up in the EU-China relationship? What's next?
What's next? I think what it is needed is some more vision from both sides. Vision in terms of like what will be the future of the relationship in the next 10, 20 years, and what will be the contribution of this relationship for the world. Now, this is like an important part of the relationship nowadays, a discussion on global issues, global challenges, but there's not yet a clear program, a clear agenda. And I think this is the next challenge, how the European Union and China can work together in order to address the global challenges and also to send some reassuring messages to some parts of the world. And the European Union, in particular, sometimes lacks unity on how to engage with China. So this is, again, a challenge for the European Union. But I also think the Chinese sometimes think the European Union is not yet a reliable partner when it comes to political and security issues. So if the two elements are overcome, so China accepts the European Union as a political and security actor a bit more on some issues, and the Europeans are able to put together a more unitary approach towards China, I think we will see some good benefits, not only for the bilateral relationship, but also for some parts of the world, could be the Middle East, Africa, where the two could act together and bring benefits to these regions.
Nicola, I just want to thank you very much for your time and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me today.